Ever since I stepped off the ice on my very first and only competition at the 2020 Eastern Adult Sectional Championships, I knew that I needed to find something else to keep me in the sport. Something that captured the true essence, beauty, and skill of what athletes can do on two blades with toe picks. Hi, my name is Jada, and for the longest time, I wasn't sure how long I'd keep this up. The pandemic rode in right as I was taking my bow in March of 2020, leaving me with a lot of time to think, and even being grateful to have such a hard stop. During that time, I discovered a lot of interesting Instagram accounts that kind of kept me in the loop of skating without actually being involved. Coach Hamish, The Next Edge, and a lot of performance and educational organizations involved in figure skating. One of those performance and education organizations is no other than American Ice Theater. Founded in 2003 by Jody Porter, where its leadership eventually transitioned over to Kate McSwain and Garrett Kling in 2019, this nonprofit organization leans into its core values: inclusion, acceptance, innovation, and authenticity. In a sport where everything feels set in stone, regulated by an ever-changing landscape of rules, driven by fake smiles while doing some of the hardest physical skills completed by humans without safety equipment, AIT feels like a refuge for every skater in America. My first experience with AIT was actually just on their Instagram live seminars, workshops even. This was followed by their first virtual adult weekend skateaway in 2020, where we spent a few hours on Saturday and Sunday dancing, getting into our bodies, and just chatting. While it was a great way to de-stress from my MSW program, I knew that I needed to be at the next in-person event, which I did not do because the following year when they actually did have an in-person skateaway, I was stuck in my second and final year of said MSW program. So I got the degree though. So this year, I made it my mission to go. I promoted it on my Instagram. I promoted it on here. It worked out. Let's talk about what happened at the AIT Skateaway and really what you missed if you didn't go this year. So I flew into Austin on Friday afternoon and I met up with my friend at the baggage claim to split an Uber to go to our Airbnb where we were meeting one of my other friends we were also sharing the Airbnb with. And this was our first time meeting and I was so very excited. Jade, I'm so happy to have met you, and the first time that we met in person, it honestly felt like we had already known each other for years, and I don't know if you felt the same way, but honestly, like, that's kind of how I felt. And this was kind of indicative of how the whole weekend was going to end up. We got to our Airbnb, we met up with our friend Alexia, and we walked over to the rink, which conveniently is where our Airbnb was within walking distance, so we didn't actually have to rent a car. When I got into the rink, into the hallway, I was emphatically met by one every AIT person that I know. First it was Kate, then it was Jacqueline, then it was Garrett. I felt like I was coming home, and I've never met any of these people in real life. But we've met online, we've been talking for the last 2 years, and honestly, this is kind of what I needed. It's been a really rough 2 years for me, particularly because I did grad school online, and I've been struggling with skating probably since 2020. So I needed a skate away. The first evening's activities were really just going over our community guidelines, kind of things that we wanted to operate off for the weekend. And the main theme that ended up coming out of that was everything you do is right. And I found that such a powerful mantra to have, because over the weekend I kept telling myself that, especially when in skating, everything you do is not right. So to allow yourself to give yourself permission to doing things incorrectly and telling yourself that it's okay was really powerful for me. So we learned the 6 ways of the spine off ice, as well as a little bit of our choreo for the weekend. And then we took it to the ice where Danielle really took her expertise in, I guess, just like body anatomy and how muscles work to really help identify how those 6 ways of the spine really interact with skating. So the next morning we got to work. We started the morning with a really nice movement exercise led by Danielle again, where I got to be in a really cool group, and it reminded me how much I really like contemporary dance because I brought a lot of those concepts into that. So essentially what this is you make a shape, and each person in your group makes a different shape, and you're all going to make those same shapes at the same time, but you're going to transition in and out of those shapes differently. Yeah, it was just really interesting because we ended up doing it to music that we hadn't heard before, and I could just really see it coming together. And I also enjoyed that I got to like feed off of each other's energy. I want to do that exercise on ice because I think it could be really cool. What I really liked about it was the fact that you could kind of turn it into whatever you wanted. If you wanted it to be more choreographic, it could be that way, but you could also just improvise and just see how it kind of flows. I don't think the point of the exercise was necessarily to improvise, but I enjoyed the fact that my group did a little bit of both, which was really cool. I'm not sure what we did next, but I know that Garrett and Kate had something to do with it, and it may have been off ice. I don't really remember. I think we were walking across the floor with different emotions. I might be getting the days mixed up, but I think that's what we did that day. I don't remember. Listen, this is the problem with you not coming, is that you don't know what we did. I don't know either. So you have to come next year. So we broke for lunch, and when we came back, I was excited to see Joey, and he also has the cutest family. I am a big fan. Joey led us through a really fun and also like exceedingly or increasingly difficult edge and skills kind of class. We started with like swizzles and rocking horses, and then somehow we ended up doing like warm-up step sequences that he did with Brown Body, the performance company that's made out of completely black people. I love that, by the way. If y'all don't know about Brown Body, like, go ahead, this is it. I like the challenge, but I think maybe it was the wrong audience considering the wide disparity of skill level among the folks at the weekend, but we still love Joey and we still learned a lot, and Kate and the rest of the AIT faculty were really good about offering some modifications on the steps. So the next session was a contact improv beginner session with Elin, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it when we first did it, and I think I still don't really know. In hindsight, I think that maybe it was not explained enough to me, and it was not really exemplified enough to me, and I only got it after I went home. So in the moment, I wasn't really sure what we were doing, and I think that might have been an issue. I did it for a little bit, and then I wasn't in it, so I went off. Maybe if I had a little bit more guidance, and I got to see some examples prior to just jumping into a group-wide contact improv, might have been a little better. For the last activity of the evening, we had this really fun rotation thing. So we had a station for Joey, a station for Garrett, and a station for Kate. So Kate went over our little tricks that we had in the choreographic sequence. We did really weird like jumps and also hydro blades, beginner hydro blade if you're me, with Garrett. And then Joey went through some slides with us, and I thought it was really fun because it was only like 45 minutes or so we only had like maybe 20 minutes with each person, less than that really, and we were all in like small groups, so it was just nice because you got to learn very different things out of each person, but also they each had a different way of instructing, and I always appreciate noticing the differences in people's approach to instruction. So after this weekend, I have a really bad hydro blade, a really weird knot mazurka, a lunge that's still inconsistent, and a bunch of tricks that I doodle with pretty much every time I skate now. We parted for the day and went to go freshen up to go to our little community dinner. I won't divulge too much into that because I think a lot of those conversations were deeply personal, and it was just a really nice way of connecting, not only about the weekend, but about like each person's reasonings for coming to something like this when they could have gone to literally any other adult camp in the nation. And you know about a lot of them because I made a video about it. But oh my god, was it just like not the best evening of just talking and connecting with people and reflecting on our experiences with skating and what AIT has provided for us and how we've all been able to connect through this experience. and kind of sad that we had to go back home soon. And I noticed that I've been peeling away from skating more than I've wanted to, and I just haven't really been sure what that was about. And I don't think I still know, but I think this weekend provided a really great outlet to starting that process of figuring out where I want to go next. And I have a lot of thoughts, and I really hope that I have the wherewithal to do it and show you in a way that feels most natural to me. Our last day started off really slowly. We started at noon. My household of the weekend did not make it there till a little after the first session started, which was Elin's ice flow, which is essentially just really chill edge drills coordinated with breathing, much like you would do in yoga. I really like that because after the very busy Saturday and travel day on Friday, but this is what I needed because I experienced a lot of emotions the night before, and we also did not get back home till like midnight, so I just needed a moment to kind of reconnect with myself and where I was going after this, and to make it worth having gone. So after that, a little breaky break, little water, little snack, we got to go through the choreo one last time, or I guess like really 7 more times, but it was our last time going through the choreo as a group. We got split into 2 groups, and we got a lot of different cues. One of them was just kind of like to go through the choreo as you remember it. And then towards the end, we were given the cue of just moving the way that your body feels like it wants to move. Don't necessarily worry about the choreography too much. Just try not to get in anybody's way. And that was really nice because it kind of reminded me a lot of, again, contemporary dance, doing it off ice and just really feeling the music, feeling the movement, taking what you're skating or dance vocabulary and putting it to the music and emotions and really letting go and making it something that you own now. I love learning combos because it really gives me context for how movements work together from people who already know how those movements work. And I don't have that sense of knowledge in skating because I've only been doing it for a few years, but I have over a decade's worth of knowledge in dance. It was really nice to learn a combo because now I have more context for how certain skating moves can be linked to each other, which ones kind of naturally flow into one another, and how you can also incorporate those more contemporary moments, the 6 ways of the spine, etc., things that we don't really do in ice dance, at least. And what was really powerful about this was we got to watch the other group get lost in themselves and really transform the choreography into something that we either learned over the weekend or we brought with us from home. And honestly, watching the AIT faculty was one of the most transformative experiences of my life that weekend. And that's not to, say, it's just, it really highlights how much of a skill it is to do something outside of the uniform, strict movement and do it well to the point where you can tell a story in anything that you do. Yeah, there was a moment where Garrett and Kate were just doing this really nice contact improv section and they were vibing off each other, and I was like, I need to record this. I didn't have my phone because it was outside at the benches, but I'm like, this is something to remember. And so that's like one image that sticks in my head. And yeah, I can't wait until next year and for other opportunities to skate with AIT and with other contemporary skaters in general. I think it would be really nice. At the very end, there was a Skateaway jam where essentially a bunch of people put down song requests and they just skated around for the rest of the time that we had ice. I went home, or at least I went back to the Airbnb. I was tired and it was such a long weekend that I really didn't know if I still had anything left in me, and I knew that there were things happening later that I just wanted to have a little bit more energy for. Also, I was hungry. We skated through my lunchtime, so I went back to the Airbnb, I got some food, I chilled out, and I went back as folks were finishing up. The end was really nice and heartfelt, and you could really tell that a lot of people, if not everyone in that room, felt transformed by the weekend. And I know that there already have been a lot of projects that have stemmed out of the connections made. out of that weekend, and I'm so excited to see where they go and to continue, I guess for me, just sharing what I'm gonna do next. This weekend was truly a pivotal moment for me as a skater. I don't know the last time I felt fulfilled being on the ice. It's been a really hard time willing myself to get on the ice every time I do. Even when I know that I will maybe enjoy it, but there have been times where I spend money for an hour of ice and I'm like struggling to get through 30 minutes. And that was scary to me because I really like skating and I know that I have pretty good skills and I know that I have some of the vocabulary from contemporary dance off ice to bring onto the ice, but I just lacked whatever motivation or inspiration to skate, and I didn't really know where to channel that energy, and I didn't really know what the source was. I've been basically skating out of obligation to my coach, to my community, as an adult skating ambassador, as someone who has developed a small platform about breaking out of your comfort zone by being an adult skater. I was afraid to quit because did I do all of this for nothing? But I also was afraid to quit because I didn't think I really wanted to quit. I just needed to channel my energy in skating into something else that was not sanctioned by US figure skating, if I'm being honest. I thought doing a solo freedance event would have been the thing that broke me out of my rut that I kind of found myself in even in 2019, but it actually made it worse. And it had been getting progressively worse over the last few years. So really the last time I truly enjoyed being on the ice consistently was like early 2019. Which, if you don't recall, was only about a year into me doing this thing. I was afraid that I had run my course with this thing without even getting to the meat of why I started, to tell a story in the ways that I saw skaters that I admire do just that. The Shib Sibs were the reason why I even chose ice dance in the first place. I watched 3 very specific programs that transformed the way that I even interpreted figure skating, because I thought it was just all jumps and spins and really lame choreo. And I don't mean to say that like out of any derogatory nonsense, but like skating just doesn't do it for me. Watching skating, there are very few skaters, contemporary or otherwise, that really capture my attention. But how could I quit when I never got to tell my story? So with all that to say, thank you, Kate, Garrett, and the entire AIT faculty for offering me a fresh start, because honestly, I think that's part of what happened that weekend in Austin. And thank you to the awesome people that I met that weekend. What's next for me? I don't have a whole lot of organized skating activities right now, as I did just move to DC not that long ago. But I am a proud new member of the Capitol's Theater on Ice adult group, and I'm just having fun and really focusing on some really important skating projects that don't have anything to do with a judge and a lot to do with getting really cold and really wet from melted ice. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. I have a lot planned. As usual, nothing has changed. And I hope that you stick around.